Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Bhakti Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajracharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gup Gopna Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham ki Jai, Navadvip Dham ki Jai, Ganga Yamunamai ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani ki Jai, Bhakti Devi ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki Jai, New Govardhan Dham ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. So today is a special holiday. It is Govardhan's official birthday, right, Govardhan? He's not, at least materially speaking, he's not 40 yet, but he's 39, so he's still got one more year. So if everyone can please offer your blessings and good wishes to Govardhan on this day by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govardhan Das Ki Jai. All right, so thank you. You have to make this a really good year, Govardhan, okay? Last year in the 30s, got to make it really good, okay? All right, so Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Liberation, Chapter 4, Ambarish Maharaj offended by Durvasa Muni, text 22. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So if you could please repeat after me. Ije Swamadar Adiyagyam Ishwaram Maha Vibhutyo Pachitanga Dakshinai. Sometimes we may think the words of the Bhagavatam, the verses are quite long, and it's true, some of them can be quite long. But devotees were chanting the Vishnu Sahasranam on Saturday. They asked me to join, so I was chanting with them. It was like really long, like very long names. It's quite amazing. Tatar Vishishtasita Gautamadibir Danvani Abhistrotam Vasau Saraswatim. All right. What is the meter? Okay. Ije Swamedar Adiyagyam Ishwaram Mahavibhutyo Pachitanga Dakshanai Tatar Vishishta Sita Gautamadibir Danvanya Bistrotamasau Saraswatim Ije Swamedar Adiyagyam Ishwaram Mahavibhutyo Pachitanga Dakshanai Tatar Vishishta Sita Gautamadibir Danvanya Bistrotamasau Saraswatim Ije Swamedar Adiyagyam Ishwaram Mahavibhutyo Pachitanga Dakshanai Tatar Vishishta Sita Gautamadibir Danvanya Bistrotamasau Saraswatim Over down. The online reciters out there. Is Vanessa there?
IJ
Doesn't sound like Vanessa. All right, Tapas, go for it.
IJ Shamedhair Adhijagam Isharam Mahabhibhutiyo Pachitanga Dakshinai Tatai Vasisthashita Gautamadhivir Dhanbani Avishratam Ashavisharashatam Shatim.
All right. EJ worshipped Ashvamedai by performing the horse sacrifice. Okay, the horse sacrifice yajñas. Is that what it is? Okay, let's rewind. By performing the horse sacrifice yajñas. Adiyagyam, to satisfy the master of all yajñas. Ishwaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mahavibhutya, with great opulence. Upachitta anga dakshinai, with all prescribed paraphernalia and contributions of dakshina to the Brahmins. Tatai, executed. Vishishta asita Gautama adibihi, by such Brahmins as Vishishta, Asita, and Gautama. Tanvani, in the desert. Abhistrotam, inundated by the water of the river. Asau, Maharaj Ambarish. Saraswatim, on the bank of the Saraswati. Translation. In desert countries where there flowed the river Saraswati, Maharaj Ambarish performed great sacrifices like the Ashvamedha Yajna, and thus satisfied the master of all yajnas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such sacrifices were performed with great opulence and suitable paraphernalia, and with contributions of dakshina to the Brahmins, who were supervised by great personalities like Vishishta, Asita, and Gautama, representing the king, the performer of the sacrifices. Purport. When one performs ritualistic sacrifices as prescribed in the Vedas, one needs expert Brahmins known as Yogica Brahmins. In Kali Yuga, however, there is a scarcity of such Brahmins. Therefore, in Kali Yuga, the sacrifice recommended in Shastra is Sankirtana Yajna. Yajna Sankirtana Prayar Yajantihi Sumedasaha. Instead of spending money unnecessarily in performing yagas impossible to perform in this age of Kali, because of the scarcity of Yogica Brahmins, one who is intelligent performs Sankirtan Yajna. Without properly performed yagas to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there will be scarcity of rain. Yagyat bhavati parjanya. Therefore, the performance of yajna is essential. Without yajna, there will be scarcity of rain. And because of this scarcity, no food grains will be produced, and there will be famines. It is the duty of the king, therefore, to perform different types of yagas, such as Ashvamedha Yajna, to maintain the production of food grains. Anad bhavati bhutani. Without food grains, both men and animals will starve. Therefore, yajna is necessary for the state to perform, because by yajna, the people in general will be fed sumptuously. The Brahmins and yogica priests should be sufficiently paid for their expert service. This payment is called dakshina. Ambarish Maharaj, as the head of the state, performed all these yagas through great personalities like Vashishta, Gautama, and Asita. Personally, however, he was engaged in devotional service, as mentioned before. Sevai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo. The king or head of state must see that things go on well under proper guidance, and he must be an ideal devotee, as exemplified by Maharaj Ambarish. It is the duty of the king to see that food grains are produced even in desert countries, what to speak of elsewhere. Om Jnana Dividendasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmalitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Katyavachalan Pangam Langai Tegirim Yakipatamahan Vande Shri Gunandinitaranam Vancha Kabduribishcha Kipasandubhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Right, translation once again. In desert countries where there flowed the river Saraswati, Maharaj Ambarish performed great sacrifices like the Ashwamedha Yajna, and thus satisfied the master of all yajnas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such sacrifices were performed with great opulence and suitable paraphernalia, and with contributions of dakshina to the Brahmins, who were supervised by great personalities like Vasishta, Asita, and Gautama, representing the king, the performer of the sacrifices. So life, the human form of life, is meant for yajna, meant for sacrifice. As Rishabhadev mentions in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada, this is one of his favorite verses, and he spoke on this verse quite a lot. Especially there was a time when he traveled in India, and he was at every speaking engagement, he was speaking on this verse, one after the other, one after the other. So the verse is Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujame tapo divyam putra kaniyena sattva shuddhe tasmad brahmasaukam tvanantam, that the human form of life is different than that of the animals, and that the human form of life is meant for tapo divyam, which means divine austerity. By doing such, that divine austerity, that tapo divyam, what will happen? What will be the result? One's consciousness will be purified. One's consciousness will be elevated. One will become Krishna conscious. And Rishabhadev is preaching to his sons. He's just about to take sannyas. He's preaching to his sons, and he's saying, you should engage in this divine austerity. And he says you shouldn't be like the animals. And he uses the terms hogs and dogs and eat all types of abominable stuff and so on. But you should be tapodivyam, engaged in divine austerity. So we see that in Krishna consciousness there is austerity. Sometimes rising early is an austerity. It's difficult. The mind may not want to get up, or the body may not want to get up. It's challenging, rising early, for example. Or sometimes some of our services may seem like austerity. Like maybe on Thursday night, we may not feel like talking with people. I have this discussion sometimes with myself. I'm feeling very antisocial, if you wanted to use that term, and eventually I have to just, I don't ever walk away from the scene. I just takes me some time, and then I start talking. Similarly, devotees have that experience on book distribution. They may feel like almost frozen, like they're out there and there's a bunch of people everywhere, and you're supposed to talk with them, but kind of feel shy or whatever it may be. So kind of have to break that ice and then speak. So it may seem like an austerity. I'm not sure where that term came from, breaking the ice. Maybe it's a yogi term. I'm just thinking in my mind because they would bathe in really cold water, so they break the ice and then go in or something. It's difficult to break the ice. So austerity. So we engage in so many austerities. And actually, by nature, we are so designed as jivas, as souls, if you want to say we're designed. I mean, we're always existing, but by nature, we are meant to exert energy and sacrifice. We're meant to sacrifice. Like whoever we are, we have to give our time, we have to give our energy, we have to give our attention to something. And that means sacrificing our time, our attention, our energy. So that's part of us. We can't get away from that. So the question is, who are we going to sacrifice our energy and time and attention for? And a fortunate person, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, a fortunate person, they realize that I should sacrifice my time and my energy, my attention for Krishna, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's not a question of, do I want to sacrifice my time, my energy, my attention, or do I not want to? It's just a question of who we're going to sacrifice our time or attention for. And if we do that for Krishna, and if we do that for the devotees of Krishna, then we'll be very happy, we'll be very joyful. And if we do that for Maya, illusion, then we'll have some type of mental concocted type of happiness, some type of speculative, imaginative, mixed happiness in the modes of nature. So we want to sacrifice our time and attention to Krishna. So when we talk about devotional service, again, okay, we're cooking for the deities, we are worshiping the deities, we're going out and we're distributing books, we are hosting these outreach programs, we are cleaning, we're managing the temple, we are making money for Krishna, we are giving charity, so on and on and on. We could think about all the devotional activities someone may do. But the idea is that none of these activities should be done begrudgingly. In other words, they shouldn't be seen as like a mundane chore. Like, okay, I have to cook for the deities, I have to go out and distribute books, or I have to speak with these people, these outreach programs, or I have to clean, or something like that. But actually, these activities of devotional service, it's actually for our benefit, and it's actually privilege. That's how Srila Prabhupada translated this bhakti, as the word bhakti, as, or specifically the Hare Krishna mantra, as please Krishna, please Lord Krishna, please Srimati Radharani, please engage me in your devotional service. Please engage in devotional service, the privilege of devotional service. Give me the privilege of devotional service. So it's a great honor, it's a great privilege to be engaged in devotional service. It shouldn't be seen as a mundane chore. Now, still, there may be in someone's mind this idea that, well, sometimes I don't feel like doing it though, right? You may say, okay, I understand that theoretically it shouldn't be seen as a mundane chore and so on and so on, but sometimes I just don't feel like doing it, like getting up in the morning for Mangal Arati, or sometimes I'm tired and I don't want to cook for the deities, or sometimes I just don't want to clean or something, or whatever it is. Someone may still feel that. So they may not feel the love in their heart or the inspiration in their heart to do something for Krishna or for the devotees. So what to do about that? That is understandable. That is normal on one stage of realization of Krishna consciousness. That's part of the process. And specifically, Rupa Goswami, he mentions in the Nectar Devotion how this is categorized as sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti. So there's three types of bhakti. There's sadhana bhakti, doing bhakti because we know it's good for us out of duty. Means we may not always be inspired to do it, but with our intelligence we understand that this is an important activity and I should do it, and therefore I do it. Just like a responsible, let's say, responsible parent. I don't know, sometimes they may feel like, I don't really want to cook for my kid. I just want to some junk food or some frozen food or whatever. But somebody, they think, no, I shouldn't do that. Okay, I may not feel like it, I might be tired, but I'm gonna try to cook something nice for my child, even though they don't feel like it. So similarly, for devotional service, we may not feel like distributing books or cooking or cleaning or this and that, but we do it because we know it's good for us. So, and then hopefully sometimes we're feeling inspired. We're feeling that within our heart that we want to do it. And that feeling like that all the time, that is when we are making advancement. When we know we're making advancement, that I like to go to Mangal Arati. I like to dress the deities. I like to cook for the deities. I like to distribute books. There's a great relish in that taste. We look forward to it. I like to speak to people about Krishna consciousness. So, one devotee, one Prabhupada disciple, who's no longer with us, Sura Prabhu, he used to be in Los Angeles. He was quite a unique spiritual devotee. He said, I spoke with him sometime before he passed away. It was nice. I gave class in Los Angeles, and then somebody asked me to go to his apartment and get something for him or deliver something. We got to speak for a little bit, so that was nice. But anyways, one time or a number of times, what he used to say is, seva will save you. So seva, service, that's a translation of seva. Seva will save you. And what will it save us from? It saves us from unnecessary suffering. It saves us from illusion. Being kicked by Maya. It saves us from anxiety. And also it saves us from the, if you want to use this word, excuse the word, but it saves us from the hell of a meaningless life. It's actually quite hellish to have a meaningless life. No point, no purpose. So in relation to sacrifice, Srila Prabhupada brings up in the purport that the main sacrifice for this age is chanting the holy names of Krishna, to engage in Hare Krishna chanting. That's the main sacrifice for this age. And he quotes the Srimad Bhagavatam, Yajna Sankirtana Prayarjanti Sumedasa, that those who have good intelligence, they will engage in this chanting of the holy name of Krishna. And if we look at the process of initiation, the only thing that the spiritual master asks the disciple to do is to chant at least 16 rounds a day, trying to give up the 10 offenses. There's the offensive stage, which means we're just committing offenses, and then there's the process of trying to give up the offenses, and then there's the pure stage of chanting. So he asks us to try to give up the offenses to the holy name, which are 10. So that's all he asks. And he also asks us not to do certain things. Of course, no meat eating, no intoxication, so on. So, looking at the chanting of the holy name, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Harinam Chintamani, beautiful book, most beautiful book about the holy name. I will read for all of your pleasure some excerpts here from this beautiful book. He talks about chanting. He says the process of careful chanting. That's what it's titled. So he gives us some words of advice. All right. One must make it his daily routine to chant for an hour in the company of a saintly Vaishnav in a lonely, secluded spot. Taking note of the Vaishnav's devotional attitude and his relish for the holy name, the neophyte should try to emulate this mood and gradually rid himself of his apathy to chanting. Step by step, his mind and attention becomes fixed in the holy name. By constant chanting, the mellow of the holy name makes him anxious to taste more of that nectar. He is attracted to be in the presence of Tulsi Devi and to reside in a place of Lord Krishna's pastimes. Always seeking the association of saintly devotees, he takes up their discipline. He follows in the footsteps of previous pure devotees and relishing the sublime joy of intimate devotional service or bhajan. So this advice that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us is that in order to give up apathy, meaning a lack of fixed resolve in sadhana, becoming more steady in our sadhana, he is advising that we chant. He says at least for an hour with devotees, in the company of saintly devotees. So, and then seeing their mood and relishing the holy name, emulating that. He is making the point that, or we should note that there is something to chanting in the association of devotees. Specifically here he's talking about japa. We're talking about japa here. There is something to that, as he's making the point. All right, and then he goes on. Another effective method to remove apathy or lack of resolve towards the holy name is to sit in a closed room alone and meditate on the name as did the previous sages. So just sit in a quiet room and just chant. He says if that is not possible, then one should cover the head and face with a cloth and concentrate on the holy name. But don't go to sleep, right? Slowly one develops attraction for the holy name. Apathy and inattentiveness will gradually vanish. So the principle of just trying to find a quiet, secluded place just to hear and chant is important. All right, so we'll continue hearing what he says. All right, Yajna, this is sleepiness or lack of energy, sometimes described as laziness or something, but prevents a person from relishing the nectar of the holy name. He begins by chanting and remembering the holy name, but very soon feels it unendurable and wants to sleep. Advanced devotees are cautious about this offense. They never waste a single moment in useless talks or activities, constantly meditating on the Lord's holy name. They are so absorbed in the nectar of the holy name that they do not care for anything else. One must make an effort to associate with such rare devotees and follow their example, thus ridding themselves of this offense. So, again, he mentions to associate with devotees who are free from this. They're very energetic and active and so on. It is the nature of saintly Vaishnavas to be always engaged in devotional service. They never waste time uselessly. Seeing this, one will become immediately attracted to this devotional trait. One will ask himself, how can he also become like those devotees, immersed in meditation upon the holy name? So in other words, you see devotees and you think, wow, this devotee is quite absorbed. I like to be like that. That's a principle of association. And the book distributors, when they meet people out on the streets, the people should be thinking that when they meet them. I like to be like this person by their association. Means by their kind, compassionate, knowledgeable, whatever. They should see that in them. All right. So then he thinks, I will increase my chanting, and then Krishna, seeing this such enthusiasm, will reciprocate by removing the devotee's mental inertia with the power of his name and bringing him into the association of advanced devotees. So Krishna will see that enthusiasm and that desire within us to want to be like the other devotees, and he'll help us. That's what he's saying. All right, so another couple here. One is distraction. So that's a tough. Vikshepya, and the antidote. Distraction in chanting produces a type of illusion causing serious offenses against the holy name that are very difficult to overcome. This illusion leads to craving for sense gratification, craving for wealth, sense gratification, material position, material success, and even cheating. When these attractions cover the heart, the neophyte gradually loses interest in chanting of the holy name. So it's like being inattentive and chanting, and then it produces all of these material desires, and then people just lose attraction to chanting. It's such a severe offense, inattention. Which doesn't mean that Krishna expects perfection, but he expects us to try. That's the principle, to try to be attentive. It's very difficult, but we should try. All right, and then he gives the solution. One must make a constant effort to drive these thoughts away from the mind and diligently follow the rules of Vaishnava etiquette. This endeavor will bring back his good fortune. He must begin by observing Ekadashi vows. So Ekadashi is just not a day where we... Like I asked one devotee, he said, I don't like Ekadashi. And I said, why? He said, because you can't eat rice. I mean, he must like rice. But it's not a day where we just kind of struggle and not have rice or something, or not have dal, or beans or something. Oh man, it's like really... I mean, we avoid that, of course, but it's a day where we're supposed to try to increase our chanting of the holy name. Srila Prabhupada said that he liked his disciples to try to chant 25 rounds on that day. We can increase our services and so on. So he mentions this as a solution to our inattentive chanting. Appearance days of the Lord and other important festival days. So festival days are amazing days that we could take advantage of. It's not necessarily meaning you have to stay here and decorate and cook and do all these types of things, but that obviously is part of it. Decorating, dressing the deities, cleaning the grounds, chanting extra, hearing extra, doing more kirtan, doing more service. And Shiva Ramaswamy in Hungary, Krishna Valley, on Radhastami, one devotee was telling me he just stays up like all night long, just chanting. And they have these long kirtans. He's making garlands for Radha Shama Sundar. He's up there dressing them, and it's a whole thing, like all day and night long festival for Radhastami, Srimati Radharani's appearance day. One devotee was telling me even at night, they have these microphones, and they're yelling out, Jai Shri Radha, late at night. He's having a hard time sleeping. But the principle of celebrating important days is being brought up here. But if one's a book distributor, for example, and they're doing that main service, and they think, okay, let me go out, and I'm going to try to distribute extra books for Radharani, for example. Or I'm going to try to distribute 5 Bhagavatam sets or something, kind of set some high goal and really try to attain it. So the point of bring more endeavor. He should spend the entire festival day and night chanting and singing the glories of the Lord in association of saintly devotees. The ideal way to observe these festivals would be in one of the dhams, Navadvip, Vrindavan, Puri, with sadhus, pure devotees in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami, reading and discussing Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and other literatures. He should wholeheartedly participate in these festivals without anxiety or hesitation. These festivals will gradually rekindle the dying spark of spiritual taste. Thus, he will gradually again become attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. Tasting the superior flavor of spirituality, pure spirituality, he'll naturally be disgusted by his inferior material attachments. He'll be enraptured by the sweet songs about the Supreme Lord sung by the devotees. And his ears will be filled up with nectar. His mind will become dislodged from matter and fixed in the pastimes and holy names of the Lord. When his mind is once again settled upon the holy name, he can chant eternally in a joyous and peaceful mood. So the festivals, it's very important, celebrating festivals. Next year we plan on celebrating our mango festival. A bunch of mangoes there, and we also want to do Panihati. So, lastly, in relation to some of these quotes, all right, two more. The devotee should make it, okay, this is procedure this is a procedure for overcoming distraction. The devotee should make it a regular practice to spend a little time alone in a quiet place and concentrate deeply on the holy name. This is alone, quiet. He should utter and hear the name distinctly. It is impossible for the jiva to single-handedly avoid and overcome the illusion of distraction. So we can't do it by ourselves. We can't overcome this by ourselves. It's impossible. By the mercy of the Lord, however, this is accomplished with ease, very easy. Therefore, it is essential to fervently beg for the Lord's grace with great humility. So one should beg, please, Krishna, help me. This is the jiva's only means of salvation. All right, so lastly, there's this quote. This is about the 10 offenses. The whole book actually describes the 10 offenses and other things, but well, one thing before we read that is that also within this purport today, Srila Prabhupada's talking about Guru Dakshina. Means when one takes initiation, the custom is for every disciple to go around to all the different Vaishnavas and collect. Means collect Guru Dakshina, money, and then give it to the spiritual master as a gift. And it's not we shouldn't, it's like some mundane material thing or something, but this is some way of showing appreciation, which that money will be used in devotional service. But the principle of Guru Dakshina is there that whoever is teaching us, we want to give back to them. We want to show our reciprocation by gifts, by things like that, Guru Dakshina. So that happens at first initiation, that happens at second initiation, but throughout one's life, when they're connected to their Guru and other Vaishnavas, one should give Dakshina, one should give some type of appreciation, something in the form of appreciation. Usually it comes as gifts or things like that. But we should note that I remember hearing one devotee talking about his spiritual master and how his spiritual master walked into a room one time and one of his disciples was holding a check. Here's a check for you, Guru Maharaj. And then the Guru said, I don't want your check. He said, I want your heart. You have to give that. So that's the real dakshina, that one has to give their if you want to say their heart, or give their life to Krishna and the spiritual master and the devotees. So lastly, on a positive note, it's always good to end on a positive note. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, talking about the 10 offenses, he says, there's the last quote, full spiritual benefit is not acquired simply by avoiding the 10 namaparads. These 10 offenses have their distinctive features. In being warned to avoid them, one is actually being ordered to positively implement the specific saintly qualities that render these aparads impossible. So we're being told, avoid the 10 offenses. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying here that actually this is being stated so that we can positively implement specific saintly qualities that render these aparads impossible. So if one has certain qualities, saintly qualities, that upon attaining those qualities, they cannot commit these offenses. And then he says, therefore, so positively, therefore, one must not criticize, but glorify the saintly Vaishnavas. Worship Krishna as the Supreme Absolute Lord. Realize the excellence of the Guru who initiates one into the holy name. Because one of the offenses is to think the Guru ordinary person, like that. Realize the excellence of the Guru who initiates one into the holy name. Comprehend the preeminence of the scriptures that reveal the glories of the holy name. So one is to blaspheme the Vedic literature. So instead, we try to comprehend the preeminence of the scriptures that reveal the glories of the holy name. Root out and destroy the desire to commit sins rather than committing sins on the strength of the holy name. Know within the heart that the holy name is eternally situated in pure transcendence. Preach the glories of the holy name only to the faithful. Give up ritualistic pious activities entirely, and surrendering fully to the holy name, chant without delusion. So we should do these things positively. So, Srila Prabhupada, in the purport of today, he's saying that this is the most important thing, quoting Bhagavatam and Yajna Sankirtana Prayer Janti Sumedisa, that we should chant the holy name. And this is some advice that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives us in relation to chanting the holy name. So, Hare Krishna. Does anybody have any question? Yes, Trivita Prabhu.
Yeah, just to comment on Sura. Sura is an old friend of mine also.
Yes.
We worked for years together. And undoubtedly you don't know, but I'll tell you, he was the inspiration for a lot of these small books that we have. I used to visit LA all the time before the internet became so popular, because I was living here, but my co-worker was up there, Archita, and to produce a book I had to visit there. And Sura was telling me, yes, he showed me a letter from Prabhupada where he said, yes, you can make books from my lectures, you know. And that was the inspiration for the teachings to Queen Kunti, and also books like that we took Prabhupada's lectures, and we appended selections from the lectures to the purports. That's how the Queen Kunti, the teaching of Lord Kapila Dev, those books. But after Prabhupada disappeared, he was still saying, well, we should continue making these books. So one of the books that was inspired by him was the Journey of Self-Discovery. That was put together by myself from lectures from Prabhupada's BTG. And I don't know where I got that title from, but I think it's the title that keeps it going. Because some other books, which you may not even heard of, The Quest for Enlightenment, has anyone seen that book around lately? Probably not. It's a similar book. And there's another one that Prabhupada wanted. You may not know this, but Prabhupada was eager to comment on modern philosophers, not just modern philosophers, but standard philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and all that, all the way up to the modern day. Mm-hmm. And he had two disciples who had studied that in college. One was Hayagriva and the other was Shyamasundar, the famous original Shyamasundar. So he arranged for them to present those philosophers to him, and then he would comment on it. And there were whole tapes made and everything. And the Vrindavan, New Vrindavan published a book called Dialectic Spiritualism, which is based on some of those lectures. Prabhupada commented on Marx. He amazingly, because he had visited Russia, he got to visit the Soviet Union when it was before, not before 1990. Of course, he was, it was in the 70s. And because I listened to tapes, Prabhupada's telling that when he went there, you have to go through the check just like you do here, the customs. So they found the Bhagavad Gita that he had. And they called another guy over, and Prabhupada said, "Oh no, now I'm finished," because he knew that they'd send you to a gulag, a place in Siberia you'd never be heard from again. So Prabhupada said, "This is I'm finished now," because they don't allow any other religion. They don't allow any religions, So he said he was very relieved when one of them came in. No, there's no problem here, and they let him through, But
and when they took out the Bhagavad Gita, just to add, they took out, just when they took out the Bhagavad Gita, a bunch of pictures, like little small pictures of Krishna and Radharani, and they all fell on the ground. And the guard was really agitated. He like picked it up.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that book, we finally published because there were so many conversations. It was too big for one book, and there were also a lot of obscure philosophers that no one ever heard of. So I picked out the most famous ones, Carl Jung and Karl Marx, and many others, and we made it into a book called Beyond Illusion and Doubt. I doubt if you have any here in the book room, but that's available from the BBT. So this is, one of Sura's contributions. He inspired me to get together and produce it. And one of them that I came up with was Dharma, the Way of Transcendence, which you probably haven't seen. But it's very popular in Russia. It's in Russia, you're right. In India, I'm sorry. But that was based on the section where Prabhu would speak all the time, from the first canto, second chapter, verse number 6 through verse 20 or 21. There's a section there that gives the whole science of Bhakti in a nutshell. And I often comment that, the sages knew that these Kali Yugites are not going to get through all 18,000 verses, most of them. But if they just read the first chapter, the second chapter, they'll get a full lesson in Bhakti. So that was made into a book too. So this is my old friend Sura. And his Temple Bhajan Band was an incredible thing. I was there for the inaugural visit. We went to a yoga studio and we did kirtan, but he developed it with devotees, and for years he was doing that and made recordings. And when he left his body, there was a memorial in LA Temple. The whole temple was filled with people who remembered him. Some of them were monks, dressed as monks, not devotees, but from another yoga group that he visited. They so much liked him that they came and visited. So he was a very important feature in our movement.
Yeah, I remember years ago we went to a rainbow gathering with him, like quite a number of years ago. It was myself and Mahat Tattva at the time, and Madhu Mangal and Sharba, or Tota Gopinath and Giraj. We all went on this rainbow gathering, and Sura was with us. But sometimes at these rainbow gatherings and other places, he would like initiate people. I mean, jokingly, But he would say, "Your name is Halava Das," kind of stuff like that. Rainbow festivals are these huge. They usually meet in some like wilderness, complete wilderness. So we went out to Colorado, and you drive all the way out there, then you park your cars, and then you have to hike down into this huge meadow. So there's like hundreds and hundreds of people, and they all set up camps. So we were there. It's like 5 days or something, and devotees are cooking for hundreds of people. We're having a bunch of kirtan and stuff like that. We brought one guy back from there. Back to the temple. He joined the temple. So, anyways, that was Sura. Yeah. Yes. He's a pretty funny person.
Thank you for a nice class, Balaram Prabhu. What are some of the things that you mentioned in Harinam Chintamani that you enthusiastically implement in your personal sadhana?
Well, hopefully all of them. I mean, I try as much as possible to take association with devotees, take inspiration from devotees. And about taking inspiration from devotees, we have to go out of our way. I remember recently I was in Los Angeles, and I went up there for so many times. I went up there so many times over the years to Los Angeles. I do want to spend a little bit more time in Los Angeles these days because under Suvas Prabhu's encouragement, because usually when I'm in LA, which means I'm flying out of LAX, or I'm just driving through and I just spend enough time to give a class and then take off. But Suvas is like, you spend a little more time, because I asked at one point, how long are you staying for? So I'm leaving in a couple hours, and at one point he looked kind of unhappy about that, so I'd like to stay a little longer up there. But anyways, so I've been up there many times over the years, and I never really spoke with one nice devotee there, Veerabahu Prabhu. Veerabahu Prabhu, he joined in Venezuela. He's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he's a very knowledgeable spiritual master, initiating spiritual master, and wonderful devotee. But I never spoke with him, just never. So then when I was there, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to speak with him. And then I asked one of his disciples there, can I speak with Veerabahu Prabhu today? Can you set up a meeting? So then he spoke with him, and yeah, Veerabahu Prabhu invited me to his home, and I sat there with him. It was like 2 hours or something. We talked about his joining the movement, meeting Prabhupada. I asked him a number of questions I had. Similar experience when Devamrita Swami was up there in Los Angeles. I asked one of his disciples, can I speak with him? And they arranged that, so I got to speak with Maharaj for a little bit. And yeah, very wonderful conversations that helped me a lot. So the principle that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioning here is that is a devotee association. So we chant with devotees, we see their example, and we become inspired by them. We serve them, we try to communicate with them, talk with them, and learn things. So that's the principle. And I try to do that, yeah. I mean, those are two examples, recent examples, but in general, I try to do that. And yeah, I mean, everyone here I gain inspiration from as well. So you're all inspiring me as well. So, any other question? Yes. Birthday boy. Okay.
Hare Krishna. There's another person that's celebrating the same birthday.
Oh, yeah. You know, I was going to say that. It's also Dennis. I don't know if he's listening, but Govardhan's brother, Dennis.
Yeah, he greeted me this morning. I greeted him back.
Yeah, so we also want to send our good wishes, and everyone can send their good wishes and blessings to Dennis by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Just a quick comment. Earlier in your class, you asked, where did this breaking the ice come from? So I found it.
Okay.
The idiom break the ice originated from the literal act of ships breaking ice in frozen waterways to clear a path for others to follow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice. Any other thing?
Okay, I got it. Some of you may not know that Bhakti Glenn, this is before he got initiated, he joined during the pandemic, right? And so did Bijamani, right? Amogha Lila, that's right, Amogha Lila. So when he came, Bhakti Glenn, and then on Sundays his brother would come. You could tell it was his twin. They looked just like him. They're identical twins, and and so we found that his name was Dennis, you know, and that Glenn's name was Glenn. And I had this wild idea that Dennis and Glenn. I said, maybe his name, it's a long shot, you know, so I asked him, did your mother really name you Glennis to rhyme with Dennis? And he said, yes, that was his original name. So I thought that was pretty far out that I guessed that.
I have a quick funny story. I was working at this place, and I had a coworker who was working with me for several years. And he looked at the schedule and he said Glennis. And then he said, who's Glennis? He never knew that my actual name was Glennis. So when he asked me, I told him, oh, that's me. He was really surprised.
Yeah, but Dvijamani, those things I read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's advice, yeah, thinking about it, yeah, I do those, and I try to do those. Yeah, I try to do, it means, oh, I don't do that one. I don't do that one, but I don't put a, cloth over and chant like that. I don't do that one, but in this quiet place, I do try to chant and things like that, so. All right. Is Vanessa there now? Hare Krishna? No? Okay. Maybe she's there, she's not responding. Okay. Granted, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki